I think it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome again to the Stoner Report. Let me just adjust the sound here a little bit so you guys can hear me. It's Friday, February 28th here in beautiful downtown Vancouver. We are having a beautiful, even warm, sunny day for our last day of February. Yeah, we're pretty happy here. And thanks again for joining me. Hello to everybody in the chat. And here's the cannabis news for this week. Okay, starting off with something that happened actually last Thursday, I believe. The Epilepsy Foundation called for increased medical marijuana access and research. As parents and as advocates, we feel an urgency to respond and take action on an issue that has been brought to the Epilepsy Foundation from individuals we serve across the country. The use of marijuana to treat epilepsy. We write this with advice and support from Nathan Fountain, chairman of our professional advisory board, and with advice and support from a range of other leading epilepsy professionals and board members. 2.3 million Americans will live with epilepsy, a neurological condition that includes recurring seizures. More than 1 million of them live with uncontrolled seizures. Some of these people may be helped by surgery or other non-drug treatments, but for many, no answers have been found yet. People with uncontrolled seizures live in the continual risk of serious injuries and loss of life. The Epilepsy Foundation supports the rights of patients and families living with seizures and epilepsy to access physician-directed care, including medical marijuana. Nothing should stand in the way of patients gaining access to potentially life-saving treatment. If a patient and their healthcare professionals feel that the potential benefits of medical marijuana for uncontrolled epilepsy outweighs the risks, then families need to have the legal option now, not in 5 years or 10 years. For people living with severe uncontrolled epilepsy, time is not on their side. This is a very important, difficult, and personal decision that should be made by patient and family working with their healthcare team. Now, a lot of you are probably familiar with Al the Alchemist, who has uncontrolled seizures, or at least he used to have uncontrolled seizures until he started treating them with himself with cannabis oil. And I don't think he's had a seizure for a long time. I think the last time he had one, it was in a run-in with the police, and he got extremely agitated, and that was the reason for it. So I know firsthand that cannabis is an effective treatment for epilepsy. And don't forget to watch Al's show on Tuesdays at 11 o'clock. Now, politicians formerly against medical marijuana now singing the praises of cannabidiol, that is. And you know how these politicians can flip-flop, especially conservative ones, when the tide turns against them. State lawmakers who have steadfastly opposed the legalization of medical marijuana are suddenly singing the praises of cannabidiol. What gives? Lawmakers in a growing number of states, including Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Utah, and Wisconsin, are saying no to medical cannabis, but yes to cannabidiol, a naturally occurring compound in the plant. But is this new direction the best interest of patients? Cannabidiol, also known as CBD, is one of the estimated 100 unique biologically active components present in the marijuana plant. First discovered in 1940, though its specific chemical structure was not identified until 1963, CBD is the most studied cannabinoid of the delta-9 THC. After delta-9 THC. Like THC, the compound acts on endogenous cannabinoid system to stimulate a variety of potentially beneficial therapeutic effects. Some of these more notable effects include anti-anxiety, anticonvulsant, anti-inflammatory, and anti-cancer activities. Unlike THC, cannabidiol is not psychoactive. Therefore, it does not trigger the so-called marijuana high. In fact, studies show that CBD tempers THC's psychoactivity. So there we have like politicians wanting to isolate another chemical. Like at first Marinol was isolated and it made people feel extremely nauseous, or not nauseous, but nervous and uncomfortable, paranoid. And that's because it was unregulated by cannabidiol. And now they want to isolate that one and use that one in its exclusivity because they can, make money off of it. And it seems likely that the entire plant itself, with its 100 unique active compounds, is probably much better for you in its natural form than synthesized. All right. Colorado governor warns other states about legalizing pot. Ooh, scary. Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper told a group of reporters at last week's National Governors Association meeting in Washington, D.C., that he'd been approached by a half-dozen other governors about legalizing marijuana. Washington Post political reporter Dan Balls reports that Hickenlooper, whose administration last week announced it expects a windfall from marijuana taxes and fees in the coming year, warned his fellow governors about looking to pot as a revenue source. Arguing that the war on drugs has been a major failure, a disaster, Hickenlooper said of legalization of marijuana, "This is going to be one of the great social experiments of the 21st century. But going out and getting tax revenue is absolutely the wrong reason to even think about legalizing recreational marijuana. Marijuana," he said, "doesn't make people smarter, doesn't make people healthier, and puts young people especially at risk." He said the state would use the first $40 million in revenue from the sales of the drug for school construction. But after that, the money will be used to study the effects and protect young people who may be harmed by the use of marijuana. "We're going to not use this as a source of revenue to help education or expanding healthcare," he said. "We are going to use it in healthcare where it will relate to marijuana activity. I don't think governors should be the position of promoting things that are inherently not good for people." Okay, well that's freaking hilarious on its part. Well, it doesn't make people smarter. Well, what does make people smarter? If you want to go fine line on that thing, and doesn't make people healthier. Well, I beg to differ, Mr. Hickenlooper, if that is your real name. I'm sure it is. It does, of course, make people healthier. That's why it's called medical marijuana. So some people will say anything for their political careers, I suppose, even if it defies reason, logic, and known facts. More crappy stuff in Boulder, as the city bans medical marijuana dispensaries. Boulder City Council members have voted to ban medical marijuana dispensaries within city limits, saying they don't think the businesses are a good fit for the town. The City Council voted 5-0 on the measure Tuesday, making the city of 15,000 the first in Clark County to bar the establishments. Las Vegas has a moratorium on dispensaries while the city staff members research the matter. Nevada voters approved medical marijuana in 2000, but that law provides no legal way for patients to obtain the drug except to grow it themselves. So, well, since Boulder City is going to ban dispensaries, why don't they ban bars as well? Because we all know that alcohol is far worse for you than cannabis could ever be. So if he's going to go down that particular path, then he should follow it to its logical extreme. And you remember last week how the Girl Scout sold cookies, and at first the Girl Scout said, "Oh, that's okay, she's a smart business girl," but they've changed their mind. Girl Scout cookies are a great way to satiate the munchies, or so implies the name of the popular Girl Scout cookie strain of medical marijuana. But there is no official connection between the Girl Scouts of America and the pot trade, and thanks to a new policy by the youth group disallowing sales outside pot dispensaries in the state, Marijuana customers hungry for Girl Scout cookies in Colorado will have to walk a little out of their way to get their Thin Mints and Samoas. Girl Scouts of Colorado doesn't allow girls to sell cookies outside of any adult-oriented business, whether that is a bar, strip club, casino, liquor store, or marijuana dispensary. The organization wrote on its Facebook page, according to several news sources, including the UK Daily Mail. The post has since been taken down. We recognize these are legitimate businesses, but we don't feel they are an appropriate place for girls to be selling cookies in Colorado. The issue came to the public eye after Mashable reported that 13-year-old Danielle Lay had a lucrative day outside a medical marijuana dispensary in San Francisco selling 117 boxes of cookies. It's no secret that cannabis is a powerful appetite stimulant, so we knew this would be a very beneficial endeavor for the girls, a member of the clinic staff told Mashable. It's all about location, and what better place to sell Girl Scout cookies than outside a medical cannabis collective? Lay's mother and the Girl Scouts of Northern California were both on board with her clever choice of location. However, the Colorado branch decided not to follow suit, even though pot is legal for recreational purposes in the state. So that's just the Colorado Girl Scouts. You can still sell Girl Scout cookies in California outside a dispensary, thank goodness. Marijuana will be the single best investment idea of the next decade. Call it a drug for investors. Todd Harrison, CEO and founder of internet-based financial media company Minianville, thinks cannabis will be the single best investment idea for the next 10 years. But while the public has watched recreational marijuana take off in Colorado this year, how can they profit from it as an investment theme? Harrison believes it will be driven by broader legalization of marijuana, inspired by states' needs for tax revenue. He points to expectations that legal marijuana use is expected to generate $134 million in tax revenue for the upcoming fiscal year in Colorado. Hey, Franny. The first state to allow recreational marijuana. That's nothing to sneeze at, and Harrison calls the state the litmus test for broader legalization. Harrison also cites the expected decline in crime rates and prison populations as powerful incentives to decriminalize marijuana. The New York Times reports that half the states in the U.S., including some in the conservative South, are currently considering decriminalization of the drug or legalizing it for medical or recreational use. Oregon and Alaska are the likeliest to legalize pot next year. 20 states now permit the use of medical marijuana, while Colorado and Washington have legalized it for recreational use. Back in Canada, the MMPR is coming up quickly, 1 month, as of April 1st. And our own Dana Larson, previous editor of Cannabis Culture magazine and now leader of the Sensible BC campaign, wrote an article. There are many problems with the new medical marijuana program being initiated by the Conservative government. Activists and media reports have already highlighted some of the biggest ones: eliminating home cultivation, potentially high prices, issues around shipping, and a lack of access to non-smoked extracts and concentrates. But there is another big problem which has not yet received any public comment: the likelihood of widespread fraud by people pretending to have a prescription to avoid possession charges. Under the current system, Health Canada maintains a central database of all medical cannabis uses in Canada. If a police officer comes across someone in possession of cannabis, that person can show the officer his Health Canada paperwork, and the officer can call Health Canada to verify it. Under the new system coming into force April 1st, there is no central database of medical cannabis users. Each licensed producer has a list of patients who they service, but there is no standardized form or card to verify that a patient is allowed to possess cannabis. Under these new rules, a medical cannabis user is supposed to keep their cannabis in the packaging which it was received. The label on their prescription bottle is their proof they have a prescription and are legally allowed to possess cannabis. I've seen prescription bottles from a few different companies, and each have a different labeling and different look. The containers vary widely in shape, size, and formats on their labels. So yeah, that's another issue, and this MMPR is sure to be overturned in court because of that. And speaking of which, here's one of the court cases. The federal government had lost the first skirmish in a proposed medical marijuana class action lawsuit, which accuses Health Canada of violating privacy of medical marijuana users. The legal action was filed under pseudonyms, but Ottawa wanted the people to use their real names. The case was launched late last year after Health Canada sent letters to 40,000 people in the Medical Marijuana Access Program with the program's name on the envelope. Recipients were upset, saying their privacy had been violated. They worried they'd lose their jobs or be victims of a home invasion. Health Canada apologized for the gaffe, calling it an administrative error. The proposed class action legal papers, handled by a Halifax law firm, were filed under the names John Doe and Susie Jones. The federal government argued the real name should be on the lawsuit. McInnes Cooper lawyer Jane O'Neill argued against that. It's a breach of privacy case, so to refuse to allow them to remain private throughout the lawsuit in its essence defeats the merits of the claim. So yeah, the Harper government is just so much fun these days. Patients may defy new medical marijuana laws. Some patients licensed to grow their own medicinal marijuana are threatening to defy a new federal law that will require them to destroy their pot plants and purchase the drug from government-approved growers. The new law, which comes into effect April 1st, ends the program through which some 37,000 Canadians grow marijuana to treat their own medical conditions, such as cancer, MS, arthritis, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Starting April 1st, the patients will have to destroy their remaining plants and purchase the drug via 7 federally licensed growers. Patients say that growing their own drug costs them just cents a day. Buying from federally licensed growers, however, will jack up the price 5 to 10 times higher. With some ill patients unable to work or receiving disability benefits, the higher cost is out of reach for many of them. And in some local news, local to Calgary that is, a Calgary area greenhouse operator is being stymied in his effort to grow medical marijuana by a local council move to change the bylaw that would have allowed it. Stan Switek applied to Health Canada last year to become a licensed medical marijuana producer following a federal law change that allowed private companies to grow the plants. His application was near complete, and he had spent about $500,000 on the development when Rocky View County informed him it planned to change the rules. The municipality is proposing amendments to its land use bylaw that will classify a medical marijuana growing operation outside a horticultural or market garden business. Switek had a horticultural development permit. And it's 2:20 in the Mountain Time Zone. So happy 2:20 here, 4:20 there. So happy 4:20 to everybody there, and happy 2:20. 2 hours till 4:20, so I'm going to light up a joint and take a little bit of a break. Fortunately, Ashley would usually be here at this time, and she's unable to make it this week. She has to work, so she'll be here, not every week, but from time to time. So as I light this joint, I'll remind you to, if you're in Vancouver, to come visit us at 307 West Hastings. Come down to the store and pick up a bong, or I think we still have 50% off books down there. Or get some hemp clothes or other knickknacks. We also have the Urban Shaman at the back of the store for your ethnobotanical needs. A lot of obscure legal plants and hallucinogens can be purchased down there, so definitely check that out. And on the second and third floor, we have our Vapor Lounge, from which I am now seated and broadcasting to you. We got a pool table on the third floor, and we just got new TVs, which should be hooked up pretty soon. One of our employees, Willie, is waving and smiling And yeah, it's always a good time here, and we'll definitely make you feel welcome. So bring your weed and check us out. And don't forget, on the third floor there's the office. If you ever want to talk to Jody or Jeremiah or myself or Greg, why not come up and say hi? So, that's a lot better. I will now continue with the news. A little bit of international news here. You might have heard that El Chapo, Sinaloa cartel leader, was arrested recently. Mexicans are bracing for a drug turf war. Now that Mexican government has nabbed the country's most wanted drug lord, Fernando Antonius Robles is worried about the future. Robles is a 16-year-old bricklayer apprenticed in the wild drug-producing municipality where Joaquin El Chapo Guzman grew up. In this hard-scrabble patch of mountainous Sinaloa state, more than 74% of the people live in poverty. And yet the tiny county seat is full of fine new freshly painted houses. Robles knows that many of them were built by El Chapo's men. A lot of people are going to be unemployed, Robles said, while loitering with a friend on the handsome town square, because a lot of people worked for him. The arrest of Guzman on Saturday in the resort city of Mazatlan, a few hours' drive and a world away from Badiraguato, was greeted with delight by the Mexican government. President Enrique Peña Nieto is hoping to show the world that he can fight a better war on drugs by relying, as he said Monday, more on the application of technology and information analysis than the sheer military muscle deployed by his predecessor, Philip Calderon. And finally, we have a hemp story. Hemp farmers in Colorado are advised of challenges because of federal law. Farmers who intend to plant Colorado's first industrial hemp crop can register starting March 1st, though they should be aware of several unanswered legal questions, the Colorado Department of Agriculture says. There are challenges in this first year, and I think the most important thing is that we want those who are interested in cultivating to do so, to come out to the department and register, explains Ron Carlton, Deputy Commissioner of Agriculture. But we at least want them to be aware that there are challenges. While it isn't clear how many people were registered to grow hemp, the Agriculture Department has fielded numerous queries from throughout the state in the past few months. The issue is complicated because while Colorado has legalized cultivation of industrial hemp, also called Cannabis SPP, the practice remains illegal in the federal level. Recent activity in Washington, though, has permitted some flexibility. For example, Carlton notes, memos from the U.S. Department of Justice and U.S. Department of Treasury has indicated that while cannabis still remains illegal, the federal government will defer enforcement to individual states. All right, so that's the news for this week. I hope you had a great week, and I hope you have a great oncoming weekend. Don't forget to visit freemark.ca and write a letter to Mark. He's only got a few months left, but he's really getting more and more stressful as the time grows near the end. So please do that. And thanks for joining me. Have a great weekend. Remember, cannabis is the most advanced plant on the planet, and we can use it to help ourselves and save the human race. So I'll see you next week. Take care.